Armor has been around since the beginning of time, from thick pelts or fur on animals to deciding to wear clothing instead of running around naked. Armor is a very important thing if you want to, live. In the Skyblock, there is a lot of armor sets, weapons, pets, so much that it can sometimes be hard to tell what is meta and what you should get next. That's why in today's video I'm going to be comparing a bunch of items. There will be timestamps for each part of the video on screen, so go check that out, and in the description. But before this, I have a challenge for you guys. A 1 billion coin challenge. If we are able to get 20k by the end of 2022, I will give you guys 1 billion. So subscribe fast, because 2022 is almost over, and I know you want that money. A while back, they made Juju harder to get, and people started using Spirit Bow instead because it became a short bow. But is it actually comparable to Juju? First, the cost and Rex. I'm also going to add Dragon Shortbow in here as an option. Dragon Shortbow is free and has almost zero requirements, except for the fact you need to do the stupid Dragon Quest thingy and pay for it with your sanity as you frantically run around and kill loads of black mobs in hopes for their clothing and drip. But it is technically free. Next, Spirit Bow. This is an F4 drop, meaning you need to Angry Pita in, whack a bunch of animals, including dodging suicidal chickens. But once you complete this, it'll cost you 8 to 10 million coins for a 5-star bow. Next, the Juju. For this one, you need to be good at the game and get to Void Gloom 5. Or you can just pay to win and get carried all the way there. This will cost you 8 to 9 mil for a 5-star bow. Now, what about the damage? Again, we'll be using the exact same setup as always. Necron, Warden, Helm, E-Drag. Starting off with the precise Dragon Shortbow. These are all the exact same thing. Exact same enchants, exact same everything. Shortbow, we are doing, looks like 101. Yeah, it looks like around 100,000 damage we're doing with the Shortbow. Next up, we have Spirit Bow. 170,000 damage. 180. Obviously, this is a lot better weapon than the Dragon Shortbow. Only issue about this is it shoots slower than the Dragon Shortbow and Juju. Next up, Juju. Well, yeah, 270,000 damage. 260. That was a weird hit. 260, 260, 260. So Juju does substantially more damage than the Spirit Bow, and it costs less. The only issue is getting to E-Man 5. It destroys Spirit Bow without any competition. Crimson armor sets are known to be one of the best sets in the game, but how good is it exactly, and at what stage does it surpass Shadow Assassin and Necron? Crimson is one of the 5 armor sets in the new Crimson Island update, but you only need to worry about 3. And this armor you can star 200 plus times each time, getting better. You can also put attribute shards on it, which do anything from give you more mana to make you deal more damage at full HP. So how max does this need to be in order to outclass Shadow Assassin? Outside of dungeons, of course. You need to get it to 10-star base, and it equals Shadow Assassin in DPS excluding abilities. So now we're going to be comparing Crimson to Shadow Assassin. First, let's go over what this is. Shadow Assassin, and total this set cost me around 28 million coins, somewhere in that range. Crimson, we have 10-starred Ancient Crimson. In order to get this, you don't actually have to do a single Kudra, like you don't have to have any Kudra teeth, it just requires heavy pearls and essence. This costs you around 15 million coins to get a 3/4 Crimson, with each piece costing you 1 mil from AH, the essence costing you 1.5 mil, and the actual cost of leveling it up costs around 3 mil each, leading you to around 15 million cost. So it is cheaper by around 10 million coins. First, let's start off comparing with Crimson. Crimson, when holding out a Hyperion, we are going to have 23,000 HP. If we swap this over to Shadow Assassin, we are going to have more HP with 26,000. So Shadow Assassin has more HP. The Giant Sword is fabled, I just don't want to deal with it, so I'm going to be using a Hyperion because it's cleaner damage. 228.65 is what we're looking at. At 228, 227 in that range for Crimson with a Warden Helm. 228. If we swap that out to Shadow Assassin armor, hit, we're going to have 227. So, at base, with no abilities accounted for, Shadow Assassin is doing slightly less damage and has more HP. But if we are accounting for the Crimson ability, well, it is a lot better. It's doing, with this current setup, an additional looks to be 100k on each hit, meaning with Crimson and its ability, Crimson is doing 100,000 extra damage and a slightly less EHP. Obviously, if you're doing dungeons, Shadow Assassin's better. I think that's pretty obvious. Now let's compare Crimson to Necron. First, we need to get to the same tier, which is 10-star hot. This means you need to open 30 chests from Kudra and have like 40 something heavy pearls. In total, this will cost you around 12 to 13 mil a piece, from essence cost to the actual armor cost, to the cost of leveling up, which is 2 mil every single time you get it from 0-star to 10-star. So it'll cost you around 36 mil for a full set of Crimson. It's a lot cheaper than Necron, which 3/4 Necron will cost you around 76 mil for a 5-star version. Now what about the damage and the health? So now we're going to test Crimson compared to Necron. First, setups. Necron, 5-starred Ancient, all hot potato books. Crimson, Ancient, 10-starred, hot potato books. As we can see, first let's compare the base EHP without anything on it, me holding nothing. So first let's go with combat stats. We have a little over 30,000 in Necron, and in Crimson I expect we're going to have slightly less. And we have 27,000, so it is less HP. Now for the actual damage test. We're going to be using a Warden Helm, Ancient Hot Crimson, and we're just going to be using Hyperion just because it's a consistent damage test. We're hitting for 241k, 242k it looks like. 242k, yep. And if we get 10 stacks, we're hitting for an additional 100,000, meaning with ability, we are hitting for, safe to say, 340,000-ish damage. Also, there's AoE to multiple targets. Now let's compare this to the Necron. Keep in mind, it was 241 base, and then 342 for counting abilities. We're hitting 241k base with Necron. So again, at base, it is the exact same as Crimson. Including Crimson ability, it is a lot better. Keep in mind, Crimson full set costs 36 mil, Necron full set costs 76 mil. So it's a lot cheaper, does more damage, has slightly less HP. With ability, does a lot more damage. It's cheaper. Issue is you cannot use it in dungeons, and you need to get Kudra to get it to hot. But it is a better armor set because it is cheaper and it does more damage. Swords are one of the 3 main ways to do damage in this game, with the other 2 being Magic Find, bows, and a small 4th, verbal abuse. Last one only works against players though. And there are by far more swords in the game than bows or mage weapons. But which one is the best? There are 2 main contestants for the mid to end game players. This is the Shadow Fury and the Giant Sword. Yes, I know Dark Claymore exists, but we're not going to be comparing that. But both the Shadow Fury and the Giant Sword are dropped from dungeons in floor 5 and floor 6 respectively, and they're both really good swords. But which sword is better for the money? Alright, so now we're going to be comparing the Giant Sword to the Shadow Fury. Both of these are 5-starred, one for all, with fumings on them. Nothing else is different about them, they're both fabled. Setup I'm using 3/4 Necron, pretty maxed out, and a Warden Helm. With a pet, I'm going to be using a Ender Dragon level 100. Reforges, we've got Bloody with crit damage to it. Alright, let's start off with Shadow Fury. Shadow Fury is hitting for, looks like it to be from 530k to 600k. Let me get some more damage numbers to test that. It was like 520 to 560, 580, something like that. So 520 to 560. Now for the Giant Sword. Giant Sword, we are hitting for 680 right there, 600, 670, 720. So hitting anywhere from, looks to be 670, 640,000 damage to 720,000 damage. It is incredibly obvious which one does more. Giant Sword does around 100 to 200,000 more damage, but also costs you around 170 million extra coins. So take that how you will, Giant Sword still wins with no competition. For whatever reason, there are many standalone helmets that go with different sets. You've got the Warden helmet, Wither goggles. There is more helmets than any other piece of armor in the game. Period. But how good is the Warden helmet compared to other items such as the Diamond Necron head or the Tarantula helmet or those items? Well, first let's go over the cost of everything. Tarantula helmet costs 1 million coins from AH. Hot Crimson costs around 3 million coins. Crown of Greed costs 1.8 million, but it acts as a girlfriend/wife. By this I mean it drains your purse with every single use. Then, last, of course, you have the Warden Helm, which will cost you 150 mil, or 150 times the cost of Tarantula Helm. And it cuts your speed in half. It's basically like amputating your leg and shoving it onto your sword. You're a lot slower, and you're qualified as disabled, but you deal a lot more damage. Alright, so next up I'm going to be comparing helmets. We're going to be comparing the Warden helmet to the Crown of Greed, to the Tarantula helmet, to a Ancient Hot Crimson helmet, just as a base reference there. Now, for this test I'm going to be using my Hyperion, mostly because I don't have Fabled, so I'll get a single hit, and because I don't want to lose this much coins from Crown of Greed. Let's start off with the base Ancient Hot Crimson. I'm using the same setup as Warden Helm, so let's start with Crimson. Crimson with Hyperion is hitting for 220,000 coins per, looks like. Yep. 220k per for Crimson. We swap that out to Tarantula Helmet. Our Tara Helm will be hitting for 228k per damage, so better than the Crimson Helm. Not terribly surprised though. Now, Warden Helm. 228 with the last one, now hitting for 281k. It's pretty obvious that this is going to be the best option here, as it costs 150 mil, where the rest of these cost anywhere from 1 to 5 mil. Now, Crown of Greed. I lose like 50k coins a hit, and this is with a Hyperion. If I was to do this on something like a giant sword, but we are doing 256,000 damage. So we are doing less than Warden Helm, but more than everything else by a large portion. So we tested a lot of items, and most of them make sense. Giant Sword is better than Shadow Fury. But by far the most underrated thing is my 0 to a Billion series, which you should go watch right now. And of course, hit up that subscribe button while you're over there. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Peace, don't die, I need your money.